Sports. Russ, good to see you, dude. AJ, any comments before we dive into anything? Are you cool with the McAfee outfit here?
Oh, is that what he was going for? Oh, you got to get your little football and throw it up in the air, Russ, if you're going for
First
that
of
look.
all, one, Pat McAfee wish he looked this good. Two, a guy who is on the road a lot, like you got to get your workouts in when you can, when you're busy, you're doing hits with people. You got to just, hey, I got 45 minutes. Let's get this workout in.
Yeah, but I also wear sleeves when I get them in.
Well, you're not cool.
Oh.
Hey.
Why? Because I don't have any tattoos? Because I don't have any tattoos? That makes me not cool?
Yeah, kind of.
No, it's because you don't have the gun show like me and Scotty D.
Oh, it's because I don't wear my shirts like this, so I can't go. Hold on, wait. I can't go like this, like you guys do.
Okay,
look,
AJ. You know what? Maybe you should wear tighter shirts, AJ.
No, I'm good.
No, he shouldn't.
I like to hide the goods, make it a surprise.
Russ, normally I'm not the one to get on you, Russ, but did the blind man cut those sleeves? Like, what happened on that one? Like, this is national television here. Like,
here's my thing, Cressy. I don't care. Like,
don't do that.
The point is to just have something comfortable that I can work out in on the road. Like, it's okay.
I mean, a T-shirt with sleeves works just as good as no sleeves. I'm just saying.
I disagree. It's 2-on-2 here. So
okay, that's fine.
Let's split the difference and talk about why the Brewers are down 1-0 in the series right now. Why?
Because they didn't score runs, right? Like, and they had plenty of opportunities. And it's one of those things going into this series, I said, okay, if I had to predict, I'd say the Brewers would win in 3 games, right? But a key in that is that you have to win the game against Brandon Pfaadt. And they weren't able to do that. And they had plenty of traffic over the first 6 innings. The 5th inning, guys, that's the key. Because the Brewers had bases loaded with nobody out, and they didn't score a run. Then in the 6th inning, they got Christian Yelich on. He got doubled off on the infield single. And that was it for the Milwaukee Brewers. And you guys just hit on it before you went to break. Like, being able to line things up, or in the losing case, when you have to use all your high leverage guys in game 1, it puts you behind the 8 ball in game 2 and 3. Where last night, Craig Counsell went to all his guys, right? You went to Joel Payamps in the 8th. You went to Devin Williams in the 9th. And he threw 30-something pitches, I think 31 pitches in that game, gave up a couple of runs. So now if you're the D-backs, you're kind of playing with house money. You won the bullpen game in game 1. Now you get to go to your horses in game 2 and 3 with Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly. So couldn't have asked for much of a better scenario for Arizona.
Do you feel like Craig was manipulating the bullpen, using it last night, A, because they thought they were going to come back and score 2 more runs, and B, the fact that Freddie Peralta, in his 16 innings that he's ever pitched against the Diamondbacks, he's given up 2 hits, not 2 runs, 2 hits. So you think he's banking on Freddie, or you think it was a bad move by Craig?
I hate the idea of playing for tomorrow. Right, you gotta win that day's game because you're not guaranteed anything, right? And I don't think that's how Craig was thinking. I think Craig Counsell went in that game saying, all right, we have our guy in Corbin Burns on the mound, and he's going to give us 7. That's at least what you're hoping for, what you're expecting. He wasn't able to do that, so you have to go to the bullpen, in the 5th inning, and it's still a close game at that point. They still actually, it was a tie game at that point, the Arizona was up 4-3. And you're thinking, okay, we can scratch across a run, right? It wasn't like Arizona was just shutting down Milwaukee. Like, they had traffic the entire night. They just weren't able to get that big hit with runners in scoring position. And so now Freddie kind of has to be the man tonight because, like we said, they don't really, you have some of those guys like Abner Uribe, who's been so good for them this year, and Joel Payamps. And then are you going to go to Devin Williams if you have a lead in the 9th, even after you do 31 pitches? You probably will, but then where does that put you if you win game 2 and have to go into game 3, where you're probably going to have a bullpen game anyway? It's a balancing act.
I agree, and I said it last night, and I'll say it again today, and we talked about it even in the Blue Jays game. Like, if you're the manager, listen, you have to find a guy to give you length. You cannot use all your guys, especially with no off day. And if you remember the Brewers when they played the Dodgers, was it 2019-ish? 18. Craig Counsell said before the series, we're going to give up game 5. Like he's like, we have to because the way our team is set up, and we're going to use openers. And remember, he started somebody and brought in somebody after one hitter and the whole deal.
Started Wade Miley.
And one hitter later, he brought it. Yeah, exactly. But he already said before the series, we're gonna if we get to Game 5, we're giving it up. Wait, what if Game 5 is the game you have to win to keep the series going, right? So I don't understand why you got to find a length guy, whether it's Miley who might start Game 3, whether it's Ray, whoever it's got to be. But you can't go to Uribe, you can't go to Piamps, you can't go to Devin Williams, you can't go to all these guys. He used them all, right?
Yeah.
Peguero, I think he used them all, right? So now, like you said, for not only today, if they win today, let's say Freddie Peralta goes 5 and they're winning 4-2 after 5 innings, and then he's going to be like, okay, well, I got to use Uribe, I got to use Piamps, I got to use Devin Williams. Well, then let's say tomorrow he needs a bull. I mean, it just puts you in a bad spot. But Corbin Burns is going to take the heat. Listen, he didn't have a great game. Okay, fine. They also left 11 guys on base, had 2 awful base running mistakes. You know, I mean, they were singled them kind of. You know, they had base loaded, no outs, didn't score. You know, line drive, great play by Longoria, but then the one with Yelich, listen, it happens. Tough play. They made a great play on him, but it was just kind of a total failure by the Brewers.
Yeah, I look at the runners left on base as the big moment. Like, usually you go into a game saying the team that has bases loaded with nobody out and doesn't score, that team probably loses, right, if you add it up. And that's where that game was lost because there was an opportunity for Milwaukee throughout that game. They got out, they scored early, and it looked like Brandon Pfaadt was going to have a really short outing. And, you know, he was able to make it, you know, to the 5th inning for Torey Lovullo and the D-backs, and they kind of got to set up their strategy going into the later innings of that game exactly how they wanted it, and being able to go to Ginkel, then to Paul Sewald in the back end. And I think for Milwaukee today, you need Freddie to give you 6 or 7. And I know I don't think it's a tough ask because if you ask Freddie, he probably says, no, I want to do that. Like, I know what my team needs from me. But I think it puts an emphasis on just how huge the Brandon Woodruff injury is for Milwaukee, because going into the series, you're like, oh, man, this is where Milwaukee makes their money, right? The strong starting pitching and their ability to shorten games to get them to the back end to their high leverage guys. And now in a situation like you have here where Burns doesn't, you know, pitch like Burns normally does, you have to go to Freddie. You don't know until we see the game tonight what he's going to give you. And if you're able to win this game tonight, going into Game 3, and you kind of have to say, all right, all hands on deck, like whoever can give me an inning, if he can give me 2 and get some quick outs in there, it's a really tough situation. And I think for Arizona, and I think we hit on it a little bit last week, the ability to come into a series and just say, hey, we've never been here before, so the youth is going to help us, and they were able to run the bases, and Corbin Carroll didn't look fade, and Christian Walker had a big game for them last night, and you're kind of in a playing with house money situation because all the pressure's on Milwaukee, right? They lost Game 1, and you're playing at home, and you know in the back of your mind you need your best out of Freddie if you hope to not go home today. So Arizona, I don't know if it could have gone any better for them.
So can we go ahead and put a funeral on Kratz's World Series winner, the Brewers, then? Can we go ahead and tombstone him? Boom. Or is it too soon? Kratz don't have nothing to say. He's like, oh.
Oh, I said once the Big Woo stuff came out. I said, can I change my pick?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like, do you make it before Woodruff's injury or after?
Yeah.
Before, I'm not mad at that. I just think it's going to be tough for them because let's say they move on, right? Then you got to play the Dodgers. You're going to have the situation again, right? Because let's say Burns is Burns in that Dodgers series, but let's say Freddie has an off night. Now you're going to have to bullpen for 2 of the 5 games if you make it 5 games. So it's a tough situation to be in. Nobody wants to lose one of their aces at the beginning of the postseason. I think that really threw a monkey wrench in what the Brewers wanted to do this postseason.
Russ, you know what I was thinking about? Mike Hazen has mentioned this multiple times, leader of the front office for the Diamondbacks. He's mentioned this before the season started, and I watched probably way too much of their celebration and their coverage and listened to his interview after they clinched a postseason spot. And he's like, we are not going to out-homer most teams. We have to do things differently. They had some pop yesterday. Gabriel Moreno's been a brilliant trade. He talked about Corbin Carroll, too, the other day and said, thank you to the 15 teams that decided to skip Corbin Carroll because he's the best damn player on our team. And he had some swag on that home run too. Like he's still kind of figuring out his personality in terms of how he talks to the media, right? He's pretty quiet and reserved, but man, that homer, that had a lot to it. And we're looking at Cattell, obviously, who's been there for a while, but this team brought some pop. And to me, that's the part that's missing for Arizona compared to most other teams. I'm like, they're going to do enough damage. Well, if those dudes are playing like that, then the answer is yes.
And I think for them last night, well, let's start with Carroll, because I know last night he was asked, hey, where does that homer rank in a season of plenty of accomplishments? And he said, well, it's pretty high up there. And that team bought in, right? And I think they kind of understand that, hey, they're all going through this together. And you talk about the pop. Christian Walker has as much right-handed pop as anybody. And he, you see what he was able to do for them in yesterday's game. Gabriel Moreno has been huge. This is a guy who is still kind of figuring out who he is as a hitter at the big level. It's only going to get better. But no, they're going to be able to, if they move on past the Brewers, they're going to be scary because of all the little things that they do, where we didn't see it a ton yesterday. But I think in a series against the Dodgers where you're like, all right, the Dodgers are they're going to be able to outslug us. How are we going to be able to push extra runs across? And they have enough guys where they have a lot of guys in that lineup who can swipe a bag, swipe two bags, and they're not going to be afraid to lay down that sacrifice bunt when they need to move guys over and hopefully get the best out of their guys in Gallen and Amaro Kelly.
Are the D-backs the 2014 Royals?
I think the Royals team might have had a little bit more offense, right? With, Moustakas, Hosmer.
I mean,
right?
we had some slug, but we didn't I think we were the second lowest number of home runs, stole a bunch of bases. Pitching staff was definitely outgunned based on who we were going up against. But the bullpen,
not your relievers, Kratz. Your bullpen was better than this bullpen.
I'm just saying, there's different ways. There's different ways to win it, and kind of the whole council thing as far as like what he went with. And maybe I'm a council apologist for saying this, but if you break it down, Freddie, they win last night. Freddie is pitching game 3, and I know behind the scenes what was discussed about that 18 playoffs was, okay, we might have to give up game 5. At the beginning, before game 5, right after game 4, we said we needed to win 2 more games. We didn't need to win 1 more game. If we needed to win 1 more game, we would have gone all in on game 5. You need to win 2 more games. So to me, last night, Council was looking at it saying, this is the game we have to win, and that's why he pushed all his chips in with his bullpen. And now he's got to piece it together. There's nobody's denying that.
Yeah, it's especially when it's the 3-game series, especially, I think it puts such an onus on every move that you make with no off day and with the fact that whoever loses game 1 is behind the 8 ball as much as anybody. And especially if it goes the way it did for the Brewers where, all right, the guy that we really needed the length out of didn't make it through 5 innings. All right, that means we have to go to our number 2 tonight. And I think if you're Milwaukee, not winning the Brandon Pfaadt start is going to be something that you look back in the offseason and say, man. Like, I know Brandon Pfaadt, had scoreless outings in 2 of his last 3 starts before last night. I get that, but you don't want to have to go into game 2 against Zach Gallen or Merrill Kelly with as good as those guys have been over the last couple of years and say, hey, if we couldn't push across runs, we had left 11 guys on base in game 1, and then they have their 2 best on the mound. Psychologically, you're like, I don't know. Like, maybe we win a 2-1 game and go from there. But it's a really tough situation for them in your home ballpark, right? I think that's the one advantage that you still have going for you because that crowd was rocking yesterday early in the game when they were able to score some runs. So I think you're going to have to rely on that to kind of push you through to get to game 3.
Russ and Eric, I mean, both of y'all can answer this question for me, but I understand that before a game, you go into a game and you say, all right, well, this is the way we scripted this game. But then it doesn't go the way you want it to go, right? So you have to be able, as a manager and as an organization to say, well, gosh, we're in trouble now. We need to flip this somehow. And that's more of the issue, I guess, for me is I understand they had to win this game. They wanted to win this game. They went all in. But at some point they had to also – Craig Counsell also had to be like, man, we've left 11 guys on in 5 innings. Maybe we're not winning this game. So I need to find another way. So I do save it because we still have to win 2 games. And I think that's where, plans, what did Mike Tyson say? Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Well, that's kind of what happened to the Brewers last night. They had a plan. They're thinking Burns going to go 6-7. Brandon Pfaadt's going to go, he only went a few innings anyways, right? And Arizona's going to blow their guys out. We're going to win game 1, save Freddie for game 3, piece it together game 2. Well, as soon as it flipped and that home run from Moreno went out of the park, if I'm Craig Counsell, I'm like, oh, shit, boys. I'm looking at my card going, I might have to change some things around here. Maybe use a Ray. Maybe use some length guy because I don't want to have Devin Williams throw 30-plus pitches. Right,
but not a one-run game.
Yeah, that's my point. I'm always a win today guy, just because it's like you don't know what's gonna happen, and it's a 1-run game in the ninth, right? Devin Williams has close to almost a sub-1 ERA in the second half. You're not expecting him to not have the command that he usually has, and to not have the changeup, and to give up really hard contact and give up 2 runs. You're expecting him to go out there, shut it down with a 1-run deficit. And an offense that had been able to create traffic all game to push a run across the tie.
But and let me comment on that too, because you talk about like scripting it. This isn't like a Joe Madden, I script it, and I'm not reading the fact that Hendricks is throwing strikes and he got screwed on a call, so I'm just automatically taking him out, going to Lester. This is like scripting it like, this is our game to win. We have to go all in on this game to win, and it was a 1-run game. Like, that's different than scripting. Like I think some of these managers get overwhelmed in the fact that, oh, I'm scripting this because I have to, if we're a 1-run lead, I just go back to the 2016 World Series where, to me, Joe Madden almost lost that series for him because he didn't read what was going on. They ended up winning, obviously. But to me, him staying with his guys in that situation, they were pushing their chips that they are going to win this game, and they should have won the game. But I don't know that he should have gone off script. You can't bring in Colin Ray in a 4-3 game. I love Colin Ray. I love Adrian Hauser. I love Wade Miley. Those dudes should not be in a 4-3 ball game against the Pfaadt Diamondbacks, even if Pfaadt's out of the game, because you have a shot at still putting the ball out of the ballpark and going up and then going to Devin Williams.
Okay, that's fine. But now you're screwed because now Hauser, Ray, Miley. So, now you're screwed for 2 games. Let's say they win tonight, 2-1, right? Freddie deals.
They have to win
tonight. He uses Payamps. He uses Williams. He uses Uribe again. Is he going to throw those guys 3 games in a row? Probably not. So those guys are going to have to pitch big innings for you. So why not make it in a game that, hey, we're losing, we might not win? See where I'm going with this? I mean, I get it. If and buts were candies and nuts, it'd be Christmas every day. Right? If they hit a home run, they would have won the game. They didn't. The Diamondbacks did. So now you're fucked.
Yeah, but you can't sit and wait and hold. You can't sit and wait and hold Colin Ray and all these guys like at a spot where they're not used to in a 1-run game. To me, they're going after last night's game. It didn't happen. And I commend them for going after it because
I commend them now for adios.
Kuma stoned.
It's not over yet. They have a chance, obviously.
Yeah, come on. They can win 2 games in a row.
I understood. If they're
If there was
close,
an area where the game was lost, I think it was much more on the offense than how that pitching went. I think 4 runs through 8 innings, I think you're feeling pretty good. And with the way that your offense had been able to create traffic, despite being down going into the 9th inning, I think you're probably feeling pretty good about that outcome. And you just can't worry about tomorrow, man, because tomorrow might not be there, right? You think about game 3 and, we win this one, and then maybe we point on game 2 and go. You might be out. You might be out.
Okay, that's fine. You might be out tonight, though, too, but
True.
Here's the thing, okay? Now, before one last thing, and we're going to move on from this because I hate bearing counsel because I really like him. But you were at the game last night. Mm-hmm. There was 3 celebrities in the crowd. I didn't see you next to them. They had Front Row Amy, Marlins man, and M&M jacket guy. I'm sure you know George Jacobs, the M&M jacket guy, because he's at all the White Sox games. Mm-hmm. And you know Marlins man, and Front Row Amy's a legend in Milwaukee. So I was waiting for the Russ Dorsey selfie next to the 3 of them, in between them maybe during the game, Twitter.
I was working. 2, I'm not a celebrity, AJ.
I know. That's why you take a picture with the 3 celebrities.
Also,
That's lame. Who does
celebrity.
that?
I'm sorry.
I know. Celebrity's a big. I know.
That is a
Marlins Man is definitely
stretch.
a baseball celebrity, not like actual celebrity.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. Obviously.
We're talking about those 3, and the NFL's throwing Swift and Kelsey at us. Oof, we got work to do.
Sports doing it wrong.
Yeah.
we're okay. We're okay. But hey, Russ, real quick. I got my comparison here. The Royals, 19 home runs, 15 home runs, 17 home runs. Top 3 home runs for the 2014 Royals. Sounds kind of like the Diamondbacks.
Oh, okay. I mean, I don't doubt you because you know that team well. I just feel like this team is a little less experienced than that team was in terms of just like that team had a little bit more big league experience. These guys have rookies going out there starting game 1. And, for Carroll, he's an absolute stud. Like that ball he hit last night, I don't know if TV did it justice. That ball was absolutely demolished, and he went down and got it. So he's a different animal. But like they have a lot of guys still learning who they are as big leaguers in real time, and they're doing it in the postseason. I think that's pretty cool.
And there is breaking news, so I'm going to add this. The Diamondbacks win actually leads to a contract extension. No, I'm kidding, obviously. But I'm not kidding about the extension for Mike Hazen. That is real. That just got reported by some people. I think John Heyman was first with it. But through 2028 with a club option. He's going to be there for a long-ass time. He's done a nice job building this team, and it looks like their best baseball is going to come over the next few years in a winning window here. And some Red Sox fans that thought maybe he goes back to the Red Sox front office and cross him off the list. That probably helped with leverage. So congrats to Mike Hazen on getting the bag from the D-backs. Russ, have fun, man. Hopefully we'll talk to you, early next week or later this week and have a game 3 to cover with you,
Perfect. Sounds good. Thanks, guys.